So I'll be the heretic as I sit on, obviously, my last panel
Okay.
in this environment, in this community. But I think it comes down is leadership.
Okay.
Because I think all the issues that we're seeing, the framework for the solution is there. And I think and I would especially look at the work that Jeremy's doing in terms of both here, and we're seeing it in the UK and elsewhere, the leadership has said this needs to be led by the marketplace. This needs to be a solution that we can deliver to individuals, and it will then be a rollout model much more like an internet product than like a government mandate. And I think seeing leaders, and we've seen them at the VA, we've seen them at Medicare, Medicaid. I mean, so this is going on. I don't mean to be a criticism, but I think we have to support the leaders who are embracing that vision. In the UK, they call it digital by default.
Right.
And they've looked at that and they've said, you know what, we have these budget constraints and we need to recognize it's 2011. Our citizens are already connected. We don't have to pay for them to be connected. We don't have to train them to do these things. What we need to do is present a better benefit for them. And I'll give you two examples of what I mean by that. In roughly the same time period back in the early 2000s, two initiatives began. One was an initiative to better identify our armed forces. And so we started that program early in the 2000s, and 10 years later, plus or minus, we've got common access cards, we've got PIV cards, we've got PIV-I cards, and maybe on our best day we've issued 20 million or so, and it's cost us quite a lot of money. And sometimes they work, and sometimes not so much. There was another initiative started about the same time in a really complicated technology environment that was very confusing with lots of different software, lots of different hardware, lots of different standards. It was just as complex as everything we're talking about. And then there's this little company that said, if you'd like to listen to digital music, here's a way to do it, and it's called an iPod. Roughly the same timetable. 10 years later, more than 250 million iPods have been purchased by individuals, not paid for by the government. And that gave rise to the iPhone. And as the guy that put a browser on a cell phone in 1999, when everyone said, you're an idiot because no one will ever do email on a cell phone, when they got that right, we now have smartphones with a common new experience called an app, whether it's on a BlackBerry or an Android or an iPhone, and those same hundreds of millions of people have no problem understanding the difference between the two, and that's given rise to iPads and a new frame of digital publishing, and what we're seeing is if the market is allowed to move forward, and if we focus on the benefit to the consumers will pull this out. And I think that's the message back to leadership inside government agencies, is you've got the right model, the technology will get worked out, allow it to move forward. And my last example on that is, in the identity space, look at what Facebook has done. And this is the good news and the bad news. They decided that it was too hard to go to a new website and log in. And they were losing lots of money commercially, with advertising, with all sorts of things. And they said, well, we've got a big community. We'll make it easy to let you go to that other website, use your Facebook ID to register over at that other website, and it'll streamline registration and login. It's not secure. It does not protect your privacy. It does not protect your identity. And by the way, we own all that information about you here at Facebook, right? It's called Facebook Connect. Notwithstanding all those limitations, it's on more than 2.5 million websites now, and it's used by more than 250 million people every month to accomplish one simple benefit: make it easier for me to register and log in. If we take that same model and apply what Jeremy's doing with NSTIC, what FICAM has done, we're going to see that kind of adoption. So I think there's lots of impediments. There's lots of mess in this thing. We're talking about hundreds of millions of services and billions of people, but at the end of the day, there's a simple, proven path on how we can do it, and it boils down to when can leadership inside government embrace that new model and be willing to drive it through all the impediments and challenges that they're going to face, and how we in the commercial set can help them.